Hello there, everybody. It's Michael Osinski.
And it is also Tyler Esselman.
And together, we are This One Goes to 11.
This One Goes to 11, our podcast, where we invite people on to make their case for what they believe is a perfect album.
So perfect, in fact, that 10 out of 10 just isn't good enough.
Nope. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing all right, you know. Since summer's approaching,
I can feel it.
I'm going to Turks and Caicos, and then after that, I'm gonna go to Fiji, and then after that, I'm gonna do fun vacation.
You've got quite the travel schedule ahead of you.
I am a jet setter. When you look that word up in the dictionary, you see Michael Osinski. That is what you see. Yeah. How about you?
It's good here. LA's good. LA, I can feel summer coming too. Going to be in Chicago next week, so very excited about that. And we're coming up here on the we're kind of like reaching the tail end of season 4, which we've had some amazing guests and a couple more really fun episodes for you. We got a really good one today, and also we mentioned it in the episode itself, but this person it's the first time we're having a family member of a previous guest on as a guest now, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Who are we speaking to?
We are speaking to Anna Parras-McCusker.
Anna Parras-McCusker is a healthcare professional and entrepreneur who grew up in Southern California and now lives in Oregon. She loves concerts, baking, and exploring the beautiful Pacific Northwest with her husband, Michael. In addition to her work as a chronic disease manager, she recently launched Penny Bites, a full line of organic gourmet dog treats that are available in retail spaces locally and online. She has 3 awesome kids who she imbued with both a sense of coolness and a flawless taste in music. She possesses an everlasting youth that keeps her forever stuck in the 90s. And you know what? We don't begrudge her that one bit, because people could probably make the argument about us in that way too.
This is true. Also, it's hilarious for me to hear that bio, knowing now that our previous guest, Sam Lopez, her daughter had a hand in writing that.
It's beautiful. It's succinct. Yeah. It's journalistic to its core. Well done, Sam.
Most definitely. Yeah. Also, dear listeners, there are some technical difficulties recording this one, so you might hear other things and levels might not be quite right on some things. We just, it's every once in a while the internet betrays us, and that happened to us today. So
a little bit today, but it did not detract from a wonderful conversation about a true classic of an album that I hold near and dear to my heart, and I think you're all going to really enjoy it.
Yeah, indeed. Let's just get to it.
Yeah. Without any further ado, Anna Parras, welcome to This One Goes to 11. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing really, really well. Sundays are a good feeling here. I'm no longer church going all that often, but I still feel like having a day of rest is a very important part of a week. And it's nice to have this be my rest day, doing some fun podcast stuff.
Well, this is also key to note. This is, I believe, Tyler, is this our second family member of a podcast guest that we've had on the pod? Is that correct? Number 2?
It's second, and if you don't count my dad, then it is the first family member of a previous guest. Samantha Lopez is your daughter, and we love Samantha. We were so glad that you expressed interest in coming on as well.
Yes, I'm Sam's biggest fan and cheerleader. And she introduced me to your podcast, and of course hers was the first one that I listened to. Yeah. And I love the album that you did, but I heard how much fun she had, and I then followed up with some more of the other albums that you had discussed and reviewed, and I thought, I want to do this. I have quite a few different albums that I love and I think are way better than a 10, so let's do it. And I asked Sam if it was something that I could do, and here we are.
It's absolutely something you can do. Well, speaking of which, you said there were many albums that you thought went past 10, well past 10 to 11 and beyond. But what is the album that you have brought before the tribunal today? What will we be discussing today?
Today we're going to be discussing Social Distortion. and it's the 1990 album Social Distortion.
Self-titled.
We love a good self-titled, don't we?
We do. Social D is a band that I have a kinship with as well, because my dad played a fair amount of Social Distortion for us back in the day when we were kids. So I was very excited to see this on your list of albums, and even more excited to hear why you think it's perfect. But before we get into that, we have everyone's favorite segment, or more exactly, we have my favorite segment on This One Goes to 11, which is the beginner's guide to Social Distortion by Social Distortion in 60 seconds. And Michael, I think you're doing the job today, aren't you?
Yes, I am doing it, Tyler. I get to do your favorite segment on the entire podcast.
Is it not yours too?
It's just become a bit now. I mean, like it's to the point I'm not even sure like how I really feel about it. It's just fun to just do this with you at the beginning of every episode. So
totally. Well,
yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
He's ready. Anna, what he's going to do is he's going to, for our listeners who don't know Social Distortion or may not know the context of this album specifically, in 60 seconds, he's going to make his best effort to give our listeners a little recap. And afterwards, you'll get to decide how he did. You'll get to grade him on his job. Keep a sharp ear out and make sure you don't let him get by with anything, sketchy. Okay.
All right. I'm listening.
Okay. All right. I got 1 minute on the clock. You ready, Michael?
Sure am.
Here we go. We're starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
Social Distortion was started by 17-year-old Mike Ness in Fullerton, California in 1979, and it will die with Mike Ness. He writes and sings all the songs, and he's the only original member still in the band. Heavily influenced by the hardcore punk scene, as well as iconic acts like Sex Pistols, The Ramones, and The Clash, Social D recorded their first album, Mommy's Little Monster, in 1982 after going on an international tour with Youth Brigade. Then, insert rock band cliche, Ness put himself into rehab for a while. When he got out, the band started dabbling in country and blues, a little Cash, some Stones, and veered more towards rockabilly. Their third album, 1990's self-titled major label debut, is considered their best, the start of their roots rock era, and it arrived just when alternative rock stations were becoming a thing. Shout out to 100.9 K-Rock in Central New York. So songs like Story of My Life, Ball and Chain, and their cover of Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire got decent airplay. Though they haven't released any material since 2011, Ness said they started recording their 8th album in April with an anticipated 2024 release, which is really not so far away.
Ooh, 3 seconds to spare.
That was awesome.
How did he do, Anna? How would you grade his job of giving our listeners a recap on the story of Social Distortion and this album?
I gotta give you an A+. That was quite the summary.
I will take that. I will gladly take that. I love a good A+. That is my motivating factor in high school. I was always after that.
And he's a pretty harsh grader himself as an educator, Anna. So you've really done him a service by giving that A+. Thank you. So let's find out a little bit more about you, though, Anna. We'll get plenty into Social Distortion and who they are and what kind of music they make. Illustrate for us a little bit about your relationship with music, how it exists in your life on a day-to-day basis. How would you characterize that?
I have been a music fan for as long as I can remember. It's always been in the background. It's been my companion, and it's been the voice of my feelings all the time. You know, it's very good at verbalizing however I feel, whether it's happy, sad, angry, and having different bands and different genres and different styles of music have really taken my language, you know, when I struggle to, you know, get it across and just kind of put it out there with, you know, some nice sounding melodies. Mm-hmm. It's always been in the back. It's always been with me, and it's always been a source of comfort.
Did you ever play any instruments growing up, or did you sing in the choir or the chorus or anything like that?
Oh my gosh. So as far as instruments go, I think the only one I played was handbells. And I was terrible at it. And I did actually, I was part of chorus and ensemble and did a few solos when I was in high school, but that's about it. Now the only singing I do is in my car.
That's a great place to do it. And you know what? You get 3,000 points for also being a handbell musician because Michael is a handbell musician as well.
This is our third reference this season to people playing handbells. Like, it's insane.
Wow.
I did not realize that there were so many other handbellers out there.
I didn't either. I didn't realize that, it was actually a thing. Wow, that's awesome.
I'm confused why I didn't play handbells.
I don't know.
This seems like I missed out.
I guess it depends on how, Anna, was it for church?
It was for school, but I did go to Catholic school.
Ah, okay. That's it. That's because Catholicism loves a good handbell, I think. Wait,
Yeah.
but you did Catholic school too, Tyler, didn't you?
I was a public school kid. We went to Catholic church, but I was a public school kid. I was not accepted I'm not bitter, but I was not accepted to the Catholic kindergarten. But you know what? Their loss.
So I went to Catholic school. I was born and raised in Southern California. LA County school was not something that my mom wanted me to be a part of, just considering the neighborhood where we lived. And so she put me in Catholic school. However, my parents were actually Gnostics. And I took on the Catholic religion. I really like the traditions, and I like the feeling of knowing what was coming. I don't appreciate the Catholic guilt that's been put on us, but other than that, it seems like a nice story to follow.
Yeah, totally. It gives some shape to your morality. That's why I really appreciate my Catholic upbringing. As complex as it all is, especially in 2023, I think I'm appreciative for the moral education. What part of LA County did you grow up in?
Oh, I was in the Long Beach area.
Long Beach, nice. I'm in Glendale currently, so I'm still getting the lay of the land on all the little intricacies of. I mean, this it's a country unto itself, basically. LA County, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's so there's so many little areas around it. I mean, we were in the Long Beach, Southgate, Bell, and if you keep going further, it would be the Downey, Lakewood area.
Yeah.
I mean, you just drive a couple miles and you're in a whole different town.
It's incredible, yeah. And what a musical hotbed, right? It doesn't matter if you're into hip hop or punk or even the country and folk scene here and everything. You can basically find it all, right?
Yes, I definitely do appreciate that, about being raised there. It really did open my eyes and ears into different types of styles. And, I got to tell you, the first concert that I went to I was 7 years old, actually. It was with my mom and my dad. And I remember for some reason there was Ozzy Osbourne. And actually that's where I was introduced to Bowie and the Pretenders and Van Halen and Motley Crue and Stray Cats, which Stray Cats kind of let my love into that, the pompadour, rockabilly scene. I was probably the only child there. I got to tell you, I have seen all of those bands again. So it's really, being raised in California, Southern California, really did allow me to, attend many, many concerts and festivals. And, it was definitely part of my life.
So wait, to confirm, at 7 years old, you saw Ozzy Osbourne in concert.
Yep, 1983.
All right, just want to make sure I got that right.
And Bowie was there too.
Yeah.
Yes. And he's my music god.
Okay.
And Van Halen and Motley Crue, and yeah, I had my time where I was about, the long hair, stringy guys like Sebastian Bach from Skid Row. And
Yes.
yeah, I went around with, the different types. I had my rap time where it was all about Dr. Dre. So
Yeah.
it's been fun.
You got to try a different thing. You get 10,000 points for that being your first concert being Ozzy and everyone else being at your first concert.
So wait, now follow-up question. Did you ever go to Ozfest?
I did not. No.
Okay. That seems like a different beast. Anyway, that feels like that's like one genre. You're seeing one genre of music if you go to Ozfest, I think.
So what kind of music were your family playing around the house that you remember? Do you remember particular records being on as a child?
Oh, definitely. The Eagles was a big one. Santana, Pink Floyd, of course, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. All the classic rock. The Smiths, the Fix. I mean, it was fun. It really was. Black Sabbath.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like your parents were kind of on it. They were kind of like with the music of the time.
They were all over the place. And with that, like I also listened to some Spanish music. My parents, my mom's from El Salvador. And so, Spanish cumbias and salsa was definitely played all the time at home.
That's beautiful. I'm going to give you 9,000 points for an eclectic mix at home.
So we're wondering, how did you come to discover this Social Distortion album or the band in general? Like, do you remember the exact moment, the exact time when you first heard this? Like, what drew you to this?
I do remember. I was 14 years old when I heard, this particular album. It was a summer of 14 when I was turning 15 the next year. And it's a very defining age for a, Central American descent female, getting close to leaving behind the whole childhood thing and becoming a young lady. And it really allowed me to then, not just listen to what was playing around me, but to find what I liked and what I wanted to listen to. And like I said, with the Stray Cats being kind of the ones that introduced me to that whole scene, when I heard this particular album, it was just like life-changing for me. I mean, the entire album itself, it's like a storytelling of, the bad boy with all the different stories that he can tell us about his everyday life. And I think I probably replaced that tape and then, of course, we turned into CD probably around 6 times. It was something that, made me happy. It was definitely different because at that time I was listening to the Smiths and Depeche Mode, Radiohead. Radiohead was definitely and still is, my favorite band. And it was a completely different sound, and it was a sound of my own, and I gotta say, Mike Ness, that forever bad boy, he just has a way of, singing his anger and at the same time, singing his passion. It's captivating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is a kind of a flavor of punk unto itself too, right? The sort of rockabilly fusion thing that's happening there. Social Distortion was sort of the first time I'd ever heard those sounds being melded together in that particular way. Did it surprise you? Did that particular sound surprise you, or do you feel like that was consistent with other bands you were hearing at the time, that sort of country influence that was coming in on this record?
No, it was definitely surprising. Definitely. It was actually the first time that I heard Ring of Fire, and that kind of led me, to listen to some more Johnny Cash and then, of course, Patsy Cline. And, it was something of my own. It was definitely not something I had listened to at home before or with any of my friends. So I really took that on.
It's funny to me when I was prepping for this episode that they were being described as, in some ways, as a punk rock band, because I mean I heard them again, like I mentioned in the intro, like they became popular to me because they were on the quote modern rock radio stations, and so they got sort of lumped in with like the grunge and the alternative stuff that was happening. Do you really feel like that's, I mean, we talk on this podcast all the time about how genre is a fickle and thing that's just involved in marketing, but like, does that really describe them to you, or do you think there's something else?
Maybe a little punk, yes, but I think it's definitely a lot more than that. It's a punk, country, rockabilly, blues. I think it takes a lot a lot of little bits, and I think that's the beauty of it. I don't think there's any other band that has captured all those sounds and made them into their own.
There's also something about quote unquote punk, or capital P punk, right? Where punk being more the ethos that you approach whatever sort of art you're making, I suppose, that being expressed in a particular individual way. Was the idea of something being punk or not a question that you were asking yourself at that time in your life? Was that sort of discussion something you were conscious of?
No, not necessarily. To me, it wasn't really about trying to define it into what category it was placed on. It was more about just listening to how they took that style and made it their own. So it didn't really, for me, it didn't really fit just that one box.
It's so we talk a lot about like genre feels so limiting, and I think I don't know. I was reading this book recently on the oral history of grunge, and I don't know why I had never thought of this before, but grunge formed at the intersection of punk and hair metal, or just metal essentially. And it does feel sort of like Social Distortion they like evaded that whole thing, and it feels, even though their sound owes a lot to previous sounds, it does feel, they feel unique to the time period. Like when I realized this album was 1990, I was kind of like, it just seems so weird that they were becoming as popular as they were, because I would argue this album is kind of what made them the most popular. Like, they seem like to kind of not fit into everything else that was happening at the time.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% on that. It definitely was not. I wouldn't even think that they would fall under the same category as grunge. And it was definitely a whole different sound than what was playing at that time. I grew up with K-Rock 106.7, and I was quite surprised that it was played there and categorized as alternative. And I get it. It wasn't, for me, alternative meant it just didn't fit into one box. So, I took it as that, but it definitely was not part of the grunge scene, not for me anyhow. So
let's talk about the album itself and what you believe was the standout track on this album. There are several of Social D's most popular songs on this album, but what to you was the one that you chose as the standout?
Yeah, I agree that there are several songs, but I got to say it's Ball and Chain for me.
Yeah,
it is the quintessential, rock bottom, pity wrenching, tear jerker, where, he is just down on his luck and has gone through all the things that he's tried to make better, and he just doesn't get there. And, you just feel that desperation in him. You hear that, wanting, that yearning for change, yearning for something different, and he just doesn't get it. And, to me, it's just the most beautiful love song. It's about, to me, it's about him and the love for himself, and how much he just, he's like, I'm done with this, and I've done everything I could, and here I am back in this spot where I fought so hard not to be in. And I find it so relatable at any age and for anyone. You find yourself, there's times where you find yourself, like, I did this and that, and I'm still here, and woe is me, and I'm going to be angry, and I'm going to be sad, and I'm going to be, so passionate about wanting different. And I think this song just encompasses all of that.
Was so well said, and you get 90,000 points for that one. 90,000 points for what was the Song of Yearning. I'll say that's what I think that's a really beautiful way of putting that.
Yeah, I'd never thought of this as a love song, so now when we listen to this, I'm going to have to really think of it that way.
Yeah, it's a great lens for it, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, let's listen to it, shall we?
Let's do it.